Hey everybody, Jake here for American Muscle, and in this video we're taking a look at the Spectre Performance Cold Air Intake with the polished finish and red filter fitting this 2016 to 2019 Camaro SS. Now this is an affordable intake. It's going to appeal to the Camaro SS owner who's looking for some additional sound and under-hood good looks without having to spend a ton of money. Now at first glance you might think that this just looks like an affordable open box style of intake. But there's a little more to the story than what meets the eye. Now, instead of a closed box here, you are gonna get a heat shield that has a bunch of thick weather stripping that goes around the outer edges to help seal off the filter from engine bay heat. We can debate open versus closed box intake all day and night, but the fact that this does seal off the way that it does means that Spectre put a lot of thought and energy into making sure that they're gonna keep heat off of that filter. And that's good for a number of reasons, because hot air makes less power than cool air. Now, the filter here is a large 7-inch conical shape with deep pleats, so this is going to flow a lot of air. Now this is also an oiled filter, meaning that you'll be able to reuse this again and again. When it gets dirty, you can just pop it off, clean it, re-oil it, and get back on the road. Now the oiled surface here also means that there's an extra layer of filtering, since that stuff can help keep really fine dirt and particulates from slipping through the filter and into your engine. And bringing all that air from the filter into the engine and intake manifold itself is, of course, the polished aluminum intake tube. Now this is pretty wide. It's got a nice soft bend to it here, so it should let the air flow in uninterrupted, which is a nice change from the stock accordion style intake tube. But the big reason to get this is the sound. Since this is aluminum, that means you're gonna get a ton of resonance through this, so you get to enjoy a lot of that intake honk. Now, I love that because it's sedate when you're just cruising around at light throttle inputs. When you really lay into it, you get a ton of good noise, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. Another thing that's worth noting here is the connector that is gonna fit the filter to the intake tube. This is gonna create sort of a Venturi effect and suck that air in to get it moving even quicker and feed it into the intake manifold faster. So again, that's gonna mean a little bit more sound for you and hopefully a little bit more power as well. Now this intake does not require a tune. However, I say that with the caveat that with any intake or exhaust, you're gonna get the most out of it if you do get a tune later on down the line. Again, it's not necessary to have this fitted and get it working right out of the box, but if you want to optimize your gains with something like an intake or an exhaust, a tune is going to be the way to go. The filter here is a multi-layer media setup. You get a nice little aluminum top on it as well. You couple that with aluminum for the heat shield and the intake tube. You get all the clamps, the weather stripping, and the connectors you need for the installation as well, making this a pretty simple setup and an easy installation, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. Pricing for this kit is going to come in at about $250, and that makes it one of the most affordable intakes on the market for these cars. So if you want the sound, you want the good looks, and you want the benefits that come with an intake without the big price tag, this is going to be an excellent choice for your build. Installation comes in at a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should only take you about 1 hour to complete. Now this is again a total bolt-on installation that doesn't require any other modifications. You are going to have to port over a couple of things such as your mass airflow sensor, but it's a pretty easy job to do, and everything you need again is included in the kit. With that, let's head on out to the shop and we'll walk you through the process.
For this install, you will need an impact, various ratchets, an extension, T20 Torx bit, 7, 8, and 10 millimeter sockets, 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, some angle cutters, or a flathead screwdriver. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing an intake on our Camaro, but first we're going to send you to watch a short video on how to remove your factory intake, and we'll see you when you get back.
So our first step is going to be to disconnect our mass airflow sensor. So we have 2 T20 Torx screws that we need to remove, and then we can just slide it right out of our tube. So now we can disconnect our crankcase fitting. So there's going to be a gray tab on the back. You can push in, pop right off like that. And then next, we have to disconnect this one-time use clamp. So we'll have to cut that off and then remove this. All right, now our next step is to loosen our clamp, and we can do that with an 8mm socket, and then we can lift this whole airbox out.
Alrighty guys, welcome back. Now that we have our factory intake off, it's time to start assembling our new one so we can get it on the vehicle. So what we're going to do first is install our mounting tabs onto our main heat shield bracket here. So we want these facing down away from the interior of our mounting bracket so that they can go into their dowel points to mount as our factory airbox came out. So what we're going to do is grab our dowels here. We're going to grab our shorter 10mm head bolts with lock washers and flat washers, and we're going to install the two on these tabs first. So we'll go ahead and get these lined up. Get our bolt through. Go ahead and get these started. We'll get them hand tight for now. Then we'll go ahead and tighten these two down with our 10mm socket on our impact. Now for our third dowel, we're going to go ahead and grab our separate bracket here, and we want the bend in that to face up. We're going to place our other 10mm bolt in facing down like so. And we're going to add in our third dowel to that bracket here. Go ahead and get that started. We'll go ahead and tighten this up while it's on here. Nice and snug. Then we're going to mount this bracket to our main heat shield bracket here with a 10mm bolt, 2 flat washers, and a lock nut. So we'll go ahead and get the head of our bolt through as well as a flat washer. So we'll go ahead and get this onto our heat shield, and we're going to add another flat washer along with our provided lock nut. Now we're not going to fully tighten this one yet because we want to make sure it lines up with our dowel point when we mount it in place, and we'll be able to tighten this down once we get it installed. So we'll leave that like that for now. And the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and install our mass airflow sensor adapter. So we're going to go ahead and slide that through our heat shield. There is a cutout at the bottom here so your mass airflow mount can go through. But remember, it was mounted facing this way from factory, so we'll go ahead and line it up like such for this one. We can go ahead and turn this over, give you a better idea. So we'll make sure our 2 holes line up with our threaded inserts. We'll grab 2 more of our longer 10mm bolts with lock washers and flat washers. Go ahead and get these started. Get both of them in. And again, we'll go ahead and tighten those down with our 10mm socket on our impact. Next, we're going to go ahead and grab our provided weather stripping, and we're going to install that around the outer edge of our heat shield here. So we'll go ahead and start here. Now this does have a metal aligned groove in the bottom, so we're going to go ahead and push that on, and it'll go ahead and seat. We're just going to work our way around our entire heat shield. Now you can take the corner here without cutting it. It's just going to take a little bit of effort. You can kind of hook it out farther here. It's going to help as a placeholder. We'll work our way back to our corner. We can work it onto our corner like so. Now that's seated. Go ahead and continue our way around here. We're going to have to trim a little bit off of here to kind of make it fit flush, so we'll grab some angle cutters and trim our excess off. So now because of where this dowel bracket is, we're not going to be able to install this anywhere past here, so we'll go ahead and trim this off pretty much flush with where this bracket comes in. So we'll grab our angle cutters. This may take 2 cuts, one to trim and one to finish it off. Alrighty guys, so now it's time to install our coupler onto our mass airflow adapter here. So what we're going to do first is install our clamp. Slide that as far back as possible. Then we can go ahead and install our coupler. And you're going to have to work this a little bit to get it over it. If you have a heat gun or something, you could go ahead and put a little bit of heat to it. That'll kind of loosen it up, but it will go without it. Go ahead and get that seated. Next we have to get our clamp over our coupler, which these are a little bit tight. Just want to go ahead and work that. These clamps are also very sharp on the ends, so you want to be careful not to cut yourself in an attempt to get this on. You can even roll it on like so. Just make sure you don't pinch your coupler. You also want to have your bolt in a spot where you can access it. So now we can go ahead and get our heat shield installed. Line up our 3 dowel mounts. Secure those in place. Now we can go ahead and install our MAF into our adapter. And we'll grab our provided screws to go ahead and tighten it down. Now we can go ahead and install our provided 2.5mm Allen head screws. Go ahead and get these started. And these are small, so you definitely don't want to drop them. And once we get the first one started, go ahead and get the second one on. And we'll go ahead and fully tighten down our MAF. Again, we're using our 2.5mm Allen wrench. Now that our MAF is secured, we'll go ahead and install our tube. Alrighty guys, so before we get our intake tube installed, we're actually going to be blocking off this tube here with our provided drum. So that's going to slide over the end of that fitting, just like so. And that'll be good just as it sits. Now to get our tube installed, we're going to install our other clamp here. Put our clamp on again. These clamps are extremely sharp on the edges, so be careful. Go ahead and get this in place. Then before we install our tube onto that clamp, go ahead and get another clamp on this end. Install our coupler for our other side here, as well as a clamp for this end. Get these situated. You want to kind of line them both up as best you can. Now we'll go ahead, get our intake tube installed. I kind of have to slide it into this end and get our throttle body coupler on, just like so. And we can go ahead and plug in our PCB fitting. That'll just clip back into place. Now we'll go ahead and tighten all these down, and then we can install our filter. Go ahead and make sure this is secure and tighten all these clamps down using our 8mm socket on our impact. You definitely don't want it to fall off to the side. So now we'll go ahead and install our filter. So we've got our clamp already around it. Go ahead and get that onto our adapter here, nice and flush. Then we can tighten our clamp down. Now we can tighten our clamp down using a 7mm socket extension on our impact. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our Spectre Performance Cold Air Intake with red filter and polished finish for your 16 to 19 Camaro SS. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Camaro, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.